Well, hi folks, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, welcome aboard. Today we're going to start putting flesh on the bones of Cripple Creek. And while we're building some clawhammer skills, hopefully we'll build some knowledge around those skills as well. If you haven't watched the previous video, I suggest you go back, take a look at that, work through the bare bones Cripple Creek that I showed you in that video, and then come back and work on this video. And by the way, there is a link to the Bare Bones Cripple Creek tab in the video description below. So if you want the tab, go ahead and grab that and have that at your disposal. In this lesson, we're going to add slides into Cripple Creek and nothing more. As I explained in my introductory video, I'm all about one thing at a time. Introduce one new skill, go work on that skill, develop muscle memory, and then when you have that down, start on the next new skill, develop the muscle memory in that, and then proceed. Lastly, before we get started, if you find this content appealing and you want to follow along, help me out a little bit. Hit the like button, leave a comment if you're so inclined. All that stuff helps me get this content out on YouTube and connected to the people who would hopefully benefit from it and enjoy it. And by the way, likes and comments, I truly value your feedback here. And whatever you have to say, I take it into consideration, and it really helps me hone these videos so that I'm building content that really helps you. So thanks a whole bunch for your input and your feedback. Okay, let's get started. First, let's zoom out for a second and answer the question, what exactly do I mean by embellishments? If we think about the bum-diddy rhythm we use in Bare Bones Cripple Creek, we can divide the bum, which is a quarter note, into 2 eighth notes, and then that creates a 4-note pattern that we might refer to as bum-a-diddy rather than just bum-diddy. So we've taken that quarter note, split it into 2 eighth notes. And that eighth note that we're adding in behind the bum is what we would call an offbeat, just like the T of the ditty is an offbeat note. So the bum and the dits are beats. Thumb note that we play in the bum-diddy is an offbeat. This of the bum-diddy would be what I call an offbeat as well. And by the way, there are other ways to embellish tunes as well. We're going to stick to this kind of narrowly defined definition of embellishment for now. The other techniques are maybe for more advanced levels, and we start bending the rules of clawhammer a little bit. So we'll save that stuff for another day. And a very important point here about embellishments is that it's not a random process in terms of where we drop these into a melody or a tune. There are certain constraints on what works and what works best. And I'll try to convey that to you as we explore how to embellish bare bones versions of tunes, not only in Cripple Creek, but other tunes that we do in this video series. And hopefully you'll learn that as we go along, is exactly where can I use a slide, where can I best use a hammer, where can I best use a drop thumb, etc., etc. Next, let's make sure that everybody knows what a slide is and how it's executed. Many of you probably know what this is already, but let's do a quick review here. And again, we're starting on the bum. We're going to add in an offbeat to that. And in the case of a slide, we're always going to start from a fretted note. So it doesn't matter which string, the note that we're going to strike with our finger has to be a fretted note. And then we're going to slide to a new position. It could be 1 fret, 2 fret, 3 frets up. It doesn't matter. It all depends upon where we want to get to. But when we arrive at that new position, that's going to be on the That's going to be on the offbeat. So we strike, we slide, and then we land at the new position on the offbeat. For example, we could start on the 3rd string at the 2nd fret, strike that, and then slide to the 4th fret, landing there on the So we've got bum-a, bum-a, or if you want to, you could say slide-a, slide-a. So it'd come off something like this. Now, one little tip here, don't press too hard into the fretboard when you're doing this. In fact, that's true in general. Only use enough tension in your finger and your hand to sound the note cleanly, especially when you're striking it. If you put too much tension into your finger and your hand and then try to slide, it's going to be like your finger is stuck at that fret, and it's going to throw your timing off, and it's also going to mess with the tone of the slide. So if you're having a hard time getting smooth slides and getting good timing where you're playing bum-a, bum-a, then check your tension in your finger and your hand and see if you're pressing down too hard. Oftentimes that's the source of the problem. Now, let's turn that bumma into a bumma ditty. So we're going to do the same slide from the 2nd fret on the 3rd string up to the 4th fret, and then let's follow that with a ditty by playing the open 2nd string and then the offbeat on the 5th string with the thumb. So that's going to come off like this. So we now have 4 8th notes making a bumma ditty. We want to land at the before we strike the dit of the ditty part. So bumma ditty or slide a ditty, slide a ditty. Make sure you're getting to that new position, in this case the 4th fret, before your finger strikes the dit of the ditty. Let's think about what happens if we take that slide out. If we remove the slide, we're left with a bum ditty, and it's going to be played on strings 3 at the 2nd fret, and then of course the open 2nd string and then the 5th string. So that would be. If we put the slide in, alrighty, now we're ready for slides in Cripple Creek. You know, if you listen to most anybody play Cripple Creek, you're going to hear slides. You're going to hear certain slides in very specific places. And it doesn't matter whether they're playing clawhammer, Scruggs style, 3-finger bluegrass, 2-finger, Seeger style, up picking. Choose your style. You listen to that person play Cripple Creek and you're going to hear these slides. It is a distinctive and characteristic aspect of Cripple Creek, this specific slide in a specific place. In fact, some people have even called it the Cripple Creek slide. And I'm actually going to use that terminology as we go through the rest of this lesson because it's just a nice shorthand here. And guess what? That slide that I just showed you is an example of a slide going from the 2nd fret of the 3rd string up to the 4th fret of the 3rd string. That is the Cripple Creek slide. That's the one slide we're going to use today. And now the question is, where do we put that into Cripple Creek? So let's start by looking at the A part of Cripple Creek. Well, there's only one place where we're going to insert this slide, and that's in the 3rd measure on the very first bum ditty. So you might be thinking right now, wait a minute. If I remember right, that 3rd measure starts on an open 2nd string. And you just told me that in order to slide, we have to start on a fretted note. So where's this going and what are we doing? Well, let me explain. We're not just going to fill in with an offbeat behind that open note on the 2nd string. We're actually going to replace that note with the 2nd fret of the 3rd string note. So we're doing a swap out here, not just a fill in behind. But this is interesting. By hitting that note, which by the way is an A, and then sliding up to the 4th fret, what we're doing is sliding up to a B note, which is the same note as the open 2nd string. So what we're doing here is we still have the B note in that measure, but we're displacing it. It's no longer on the beat. It's going to be on the offbeat after we play that note at the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So it's a little bit of a weaker note. We're emphasizing that A note first, the fretted note, and then sliding up to the actual melody note. And this creates syncopation. Not only do we have that cool slide effect in here, but we've syncopated the melody a little bit. And that just adds a whole lot of spice to the bare bones arrangement right there. So I'll do some demos here. First, I'll play the 3rd measure in the bare bones style, and then I'll play it with the slide in it. Again. Now here's where the slide, and again, we're going to start on a different note, but slide in to that B note. So everything's the same about that measure. After we swap out the open 2nd string note for the slide on the 3rd string, everything's the same. We haven't changed anything else. Just that one note is being turned into a slide. Here's the whole A part slowed down. First, the bare bones approach, and then I'll play it with the slide in it. Okay, let's move on to the B part. There's actually 3 measures where we can insert this Cripple Creek slide. If you recall, the first measure of the B part, and actually the third measure of the B part, is exactly the same as the third measure of the A part. So we're just going to recycle that whole business. Nothing different there. So we can do the same swap out of that very first note on the second string with the slide on the third string. Secondly, the second measure of the B part starts out just the same on the open second string. The only difference is when we go to the second bump ditty, rather than going down to the third string, we're going to go up to the open second string. So that measure, in the bare bones version was. But again, if we swap out that first bum in the bum ditty on the second string with the slide, it's going to be. In the B part, in each of the first 3 measures, we can insert the Cripple Creek slide and replace the first bum with that slide. Here's the B part in the bare bones approach. And here it is with the slide. So we're going to kick off the B part right with that slide. And let me play it a little faster with the slides in it. Okay, pretty cool. There, we've gone through the A part, B part, and we've put all the slides we can into Cripple Creek, and we've already spiced it up a good bit. So now it's your turn to start working on putting those slides into Cripple Creek. Remember, it's going to be in the third measure of the A part, and also in the first, second, and third measures of the B part. Don't get in a hurry with this. Don't worry about playing fast right now. Good timing, good rhythm, while you're building muscle memory are much more important than speed. And if you need to, just drill on the slide ditty. Don't even worry about playing the whole song. For initial muscle memory, just do. And when you think you have that going, then try inserting it into Cripple Creek and aim for getting it smooth, smooth, smooth. Lastly, alternate between playing the bare bones version and then inserting the slides into it. And after you can do that, you can choose where you want to put these slides. Most people do all of them, but you don't have to. So that's up to you to make that choice where you want to insert the slides once you get it all committed to muscle memory. And remember this, the Cripple Creek slide works because what we're doing is we're starting on something that's not the actual melody note, but we're sliding up to the melody note on the offbeat. Okay, start slip sliding away in Cripple Creek, and in a few days I'll introduce the next embellishment, which will be the pull-off. And lastly, if you have any thoughts, questions, post them down below in the comments section. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Okay, until next time, have fun and keep on picking.